bottom line. You want a war? You're going to get one.
The queen will rise to the top, oh yeah.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
The bottom line holiday edition.
Saturday edition.
Eric sneaks in under the wire.
I didn't know what time I was going to be on, to be honest with you. I thought maybe it could be damn near 11 o'clock, but
your uncle was a nervous Nelly.
Under the wire. So
is it an interesting story?
oh yeah, it'll be an interesting story after the show.
All right.
So I guess the burning question that everybody wants to hear right off the top is, did Mrs. Claus get you everything you wanted this year?
Well, for me, Mrs. Claus and I actually have an agreement. And our agreement goes something like this. I don't want you to get me anything. I don't need anything. If I need it, I go get it. So don't be surprising me with stuff under the tree, because I see all these Amazon packages arrive with your name on them. If you need it, you get it as well. So let's just call it good.
And I would have to say that's ditto for me.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we make this decision, we're not getting each other gifts. Don't be giving me any gifts, because if you start handing me gifts on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and there ain't gonna be nothing coming from me. So
that's what we used to do too. But in the last couple of years, she has flipped that, and she buys me things, and then she buys herself things from me. So I got.
Hey Chad, look what you got me.
I got these nice earbuds.
Look what you got me, Chad.
Yeah, look what you got me. Yep. Perfect. And I'm like that. I'm good like that.
Now I will tell you, the boys snuck. Well, I guess Jill did get something that had my name on it, but it was actually for her. It's a shelf she wants me to build for her. So that was wrapped with my name on it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I thank her for that. But Blake, Jill told the boys, don't get us anything. Like just don't. You don't have to, whatever. Well, Blake's always been the kind-hearted one, He already had something bought for Jill, and he already had something bought for me. And of course, Aiden, my youngest, he's like, Mom says I don't get nothing. I ain't getting nothing.
Yep.
Well, Kale caught wind that Blake got us something. So he goes in my refrigerator and puts a cold can of Coors Banquet in my stocking and says, Merry Christmas, Dad. So You
Go
got
ahead.
me a Coors Banquet can that I bought in a case. He's like, yeah, it's got 23 friends in there for you. I'm like, so
That's
you
very
gave
thoughtful.
me my own beer.
Yeah.
He's like, Merry Christmas.
That sounds about right. So the big celebration for my family has always been Christmas Eve. So we always got together on Christmas Eve. So my sister, since mom died, we've swapped having it each year, and so it was at her house this year, and we also adopted this white elephant gift a few years ago. And I'm a traditional white elephant person. I go down in the basement and collect some shit I haven't touched for 15 years. It's all dusty and cobwebby, and throw it in a nice bag and package it nicely and then put it out there and somebody gets screwed. But one of the other things that goes around is this big fanny pack that is essentially looks exactly like this. It's just a big
Put that thing away.
and
Put
in
that
the
thing
last
away.
in the last three the before this year, the last three Christmases, my dad's wife has gotten it and she gets very upset. So she's like a not traditional white elephant. She thinks everybody should get something nice, put it in there, and that's not what we do at all.
I love white
And
elephant.
so she
gifts,
gets
man.
very upset every year. Like when they leave, she'll like hide it someplace in the house so it stays there instead of just throwing it away. And last year, in our defense, she was second to last. There was a really, really nice wrapped gift, and there was one my brother-in-law did, and it was all just in plastic shopping bags. And I knew what was in these. And I go, take the ugly wrapped one. My sister's like, take the ugly wrapped one. And she refused. She wanted the one that was nicely wrapped. And that, of course, was from my sister. And that, of course, was the belly fanny pack. And she was furious last year. And I'm like, that's on her, dude.
Yeah, like
This year, she's one of the last again, only she doesn't pull it. My brother-in-law does. And I look over at her to see her reaction. And this is her reaction. So excuse me for what's about to come out of my mouth. She goes, are you fucking kidding me? And I just about died. I was laughing so hard.
I just got two things, Chad, for what we just saw. Number one, thanks for the headache. All it takes is one good laugh, and I got a headache these days. And number two, you've been sporting that weight for some time, dude, because if it would have happened recently, there probably would have been a stretch mark or two. But your complexion looked pretty good there, dude.
Yeah. I'm a pro.
That skin has had plenty of time to wrap itself around that.
I'm a pro. I don't mess around. I put on weight correctly. Okay.
Yeah, enough about that.
So I've had a very unique Christmas. Number one, we tracked all the way back to the frozen tundra of Iowa.
Yeah.
Only to have practically my whole family get sick before we had a chance to really intermingle with the whole Ployer-Mertu family, which Boyson and Burns and you name it. So rather than get everybody sick, we jumped back in the car and drove back home, only to my wife getting sick and my other son and his significant other, my daughter-in-law, or my granddaughter. And so I thought I finally had skated, made it to Christmas afternoon before I had the uh-oh moment.
No.
So Christmas afternoon, Christmas night was the longest night I ever had in my life. You talk about there's praying to the porcelain god, and then there's praying to the porcelain god. So I made a lot of promises in my life just to get through that night. And so 10 to 12 pounds lighter later, here we are on Saturday, 3 days after Christmas, and I'm still 12 pounds down from Wednesday.
Oh,
I've only had that.
At least you can talk.
So
I've
I'm
only had
watching
that one
football,
time.
right?
Ugh.
So I'm watching football, enjoying all these games, and we won't get into the Thursday night snoozer. That was a big 6-3, just an onslaught of offense. But yesterday, I was bowled out. It was like, I can't watch one more of these fake bowls that mean absolutely nothing with a third of their roster playing. So I decided I was going to have a purge football day. So what did I turn to about 5:30 last night? Season 6 of Cobra Kai.
Oh, yeah.
On Netflix. And the big reveal in season 6, old Mr. Miyagi, turns out that guy was a badass back in the day.
Yeah.
He wasn't so lily white, was he? He was a badass, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Killer.
So, episode 10, like at 1:30 in the morning last night,
Jeez.
I power watched the whole season in one night. You know how it is. You watch one episode, it gets over with. You see that counter start ticking across the bottom of the screen, and you're going, I
should go to bed, but one more.
One more episode, I'm in. One more episode. Well,
hey, Grandpa. They call that binge watching, Grandpa.
Yeah. You get down to the final 2 episodes or whatever. Then they start flashing on the screen. Only 1 episode left. Well, hell, you can't walk away after you've been there.
No, I've done that with Tulsa King. Is really good. If you haven't watched Tulsa King, watch it. Cobra Kai, the whole thing. Lioness. I've been binge watching Lioness. Landman is phenomenal.
Yep.
Longmire has been around for a long time. But
Longmire was the bomb.
But I get these on here and I'm just like, oh boy. I started Lioness because my brother was like, have you seen Lioness yet? I'm like, no, I haven't. He goes, it's really good. Watch it.
It is.
Did you guys watch Ozark?
I did not.
Oh, you guys got to watch Ozark. That's like a Missouri movie there. Anyway.
What was the show? God, I'm drawing a blank.
You must be almost 50 or over 50.
Had, I know what it is. Sons of Anarchy. Another good one. I'm not a motorcycle guy, but Sons of Anarchy was really good. So if you've never binge watched Sons of Anarchy or Longmire, some of the older ones, they are worth the watch. Very much so. But these new ones, Tulsa King, I got my 6 or 17-year-old hooked on Tulsa King now.
Yeah, I really like Landman. It's really good.
Oh, Landman is phenomenal. Yellowstone, of course. Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah.
Ali Lauder still.
So is Landman on? What's Landman on? Paramount.
Yes, Paramount Plus.
All of those. It's one of that guy's. All of his shows are on Paramount Plus.
Yes.
Taylor Sheridan.
Yeah.
If you notice, he's got guys that are in almost every single series.
Mm-hmm. He's in Lioness. Taylor Sheridan's in Lioness. It's tough to watch him in Yellowstone, and then he shows up as a ranger or something, or a DEA agent in Lioness.
No, he's a former SEAL.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fat guy in Lioness, the fat operator with the goatee, he's in Landman, and the daughter in Landman is in 1923, and there's a bunch of those.
Yeah. Any of the Yellowstones are phenomenal, but
well, I figured watching season 6 of Cobra Kai was perfect yesterday. It was just enough downtime that now I'm ready for 3 NFL games today and all day tomorrow, and then the college football playoffs kick off. So anyway, we're going to get going this week, but we're going to change it up a little bit. We are going to start off with the NFL this week instead of college football. And we're going into this burning hot topic right off the bat because I've got enough to say about this subject for like an hour. So I'm going to let these two guys go at it first. And if there's anything left, I'll bring up the rear. But hot topic number one. Have we heard enough about the NFL darling Green Bay Packers?
Okay. You want to hear my theory?
Go ahead, Chad.
Here's my theory. So the NFL in the 70s and the 80s and most of the 90s, because of the 70s, I don't know if I've ever told you this before or given you my philosophy on this before. There were 3 national teams. There's the Cowboys, the Steelers, and the Raiders. When the 70s blew up, those were the 3 teams. No matter what you liked, no matter who you liked one of those teams. And the Raiders have been so horrible the last 25 years that they have fallen off. And so what I believe what the NFL is trying to do is they're trying to manufacture the 3rd national team, and they're trying to make that the Packers. And they've been trying to do that forever. And they're shoving the Packers down our throats, trying to make sure that they have that 3rd national team, because that helps with viewing and sales, jersey sales, and traveling and all that crap. They love having it. And they weren't happy about the Raiders being the 3rd national team, but that's who the people chose. And now they've been trying for the last 25 years, trying to shove the Packers down our throat, making them the other national team. That's my personal belief.
My opinion on it is this. It is important to the NFL to have those core teams that the NFL deems as the ones. Like you said, and I totally agree with you, Pittsburgh, Dallas, those teams back in the day, they were the NFL darlings. They were the ones that, yes, you could be a Bears fan, but you're probably maybe rooted for the Steelers too, or whatever it might be. I think the NFL has gotten into a habit, and I could be wrong, and you guys may agree or disagree with this, but I think they've gotten into a habit of picking winners and losers. And I don't mean that in a way like they're deciding that, oh, hey, Green Bay is going to win this game. But because of, and I use Kansas City as an example, and we've covered this, so I'm not going to go through the whole deal. But again, we've watched the Super Bowl. During the season, Kansas City leads in holds, the entire league. Not one single holding penalty called on them in the playoffs. Well, could we argue that changed the game? Yes. But it is what it is. I do not like the fact that it feels like, and here's another example. I believe the Minnesota Vikings have been getting shafted when it comes to coverage in the NFL. I do not have a disdain for the Minnesota Vikings at all. I don't. In fact, if Chicago's out, I'm rooting for Minnesota because my uncle is a Minnesota fan. My dad's a Minnesota fan. So, I mean, I have no problem rooting for the Vikings if they're not playing the Bears. Zero problem. My disdain for rooting for the Packers just runs deep. It started clear back when I was a kid. I had a best friend of mine who was a Green Bay Packer fan, and he just, anytime if they could be 1-15 or 1 and whatever, and if they beat the Bears, I had to hear about it for, it's awful. So I think what the NFL has done to Minnesota and basically ignored them and tried to catapult Green Bay lends credibility to what I'm saying, in that even though they're not deciding the game, they're putting the thumb on the scale for Green Bay, and they're putting the thumb against a team like Minnesota. Now, they may not play in the playoffs, and that's fine, but I don't believe the NFL is popular enough. They are. I mean, think about this. We're Bears fans, Chad. We have no reason to be excited about anything other than potentially they could hire a coach that we both say, hey, that was a good hire. and they'll screw that up too. But if they do, I mean, then there's excitement. But here's the deal. How many Bears games have you missed this year?
A lot.
You don't watch them?
Well, they're not on.
I watch them because I find it anywhere that I can. You know what I mean? Like,
it's hard.
It's hard, but you can. You can find them. Yeah, you can, but you can find them anywhere. Even Thursday night. Did I want to sit through that game? No, but I watched every freaking minute of it. That's why I don't understand why the NFL does what they do. They pick winners and losers by who they want to promote, because I don't believe there's a need to. Because as a Bears fan, we're 4-12, and I'm still watching every game, and I'm watching all the other NFL games too. But it's kind of like with the Lamar Jackson MVP with Josh Allen. Ed, I know you watch. Chad, you may not, but have you watched the sports shows about that? The thumb is on the scale for Lamar Jackson to win his third MVP in a row. Why is that?
They had Josh Allen. They had Josh Allen pegged here a couple weeks ago. It wasn't even going to be close.
Yeah,
and it was almost like they went into overdrive.
Yeah, but the sports media.
So when you say they put the thumb on the scale, are you saying that they influence games with referees and things like that?
No, I'm not saying. Okay. I'm not. Okay,
I just want to clarify for the audience. Yes. I didn't think you were saying that.
No, I'm not saying that they are purposefully, like an NFL representative is going into the locker room and telling these referees, look, it better be an egregious holding penalty for you to call us. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not accusing the NFL of anything like that. However, these referees do not live in an airtight box all week long.
Mm-hmm.
They probably see some of the same things we do. And when it's nothing but Kansas City, nothing but Kansas City, nothing but Kansas City, nothing but Green Bay, nothing but Green Bay, nothing but Green Bay. Well, psychologically, what's that put in your head? I mean, I know I've talked to football officials before, and they've admitted to me in the past that when they went into a game, they had a belief in their head that this team was going to win. Well, did that influence them? It may have, without them even knowing. Kansas City couldn't possibly do this, or Green Bay couldn't, they're not holding, for example, again, Chad, you as a Bears fan, how many times did we watch Justin Fields get absolutely driven to the ground and not one single flag was thrown at him?
Same with Caleb, same with Mitch.
Same with Caleb, same with Mitch Trubisky. Patrick Mahomes gets breathed on wrong, flag.
And if you notice, more times than not, the quarterback just has to make eye contact with the ref. And sometimes the flags, after that eye contact, come out. It's almost like
that's true. That's true, but that's been true forever. So, I mean,
why is that?
If Caleb reaches Pro Bowl status, he will start getting some of those calls. Because he's not the giant that Josh Allen is. Josh Allen will generally never get those calls because the refs see him. He's 6'5", he's 250 pounds, he runs like a deer. They're like, okay, you could beat him all you want, we won't throw a flag. But they're going to protect that, because do you remember a few years ago when half the league lost their starting quarterbacks at one point and how horrible it was all? So they're going to protect the quarterbacks as best that they can. Will they protect them all the same? No.
But that's going back to the question. Not only are there darling teams that I believe get protected, there's darling players that get protected. I just think that the NFL is going to be the biggest sports entity in the United States, regardless. The NFL did not fold up shop when Tom Brady got hurt in the first game in Kansas City with his knee and Jimmy Garoppolo. They didn't say, well, Tom Brady's hurt, let's shut the NFL down for the year. Was it bad? Yeah. I mean, did it suck that Tom Brady wasn't playing? Sure it did. But you can't if we're going to make the league about 3 or 4 teams, that we want these 3 or 4 teams to be the teams, and we want these 4 or 5 quarterbacks to be the quarterbacks, and hey, I guess Justin Fields is just going to have to take those hits until he earns it, or whatever. I don't want that. I don't want to be sitting there watching an NFL game and watch my quarterback go into a slide and then get his head taken off and no flag comes out. And then Patrick Mahomes does the same thing, and there's flags coming out of the stands that land on the field. I don't want to see that. Justin Fields was our quarterback. Caleb Williams is our quarterback. I want him to be protected because, good or bad, he means something to our team just as much as Patrick Mahomes means to Kansas City. But if the NFL deems that Patrick Mahomes means more to the NFL than Justin Fields does, the question, as it's stated, they are also doing that with certain teams. So my question to Ed, and I'm sure he's going to talk about this, if the NFL wants to make Green Bay a darling, we already know Kansas City is. There's no question about that. If they want to make them a darling, can that influence officials? Can that influence certain things about the game that doesn't, you can't automatically say Kansas City is going to win the game. But if you rewatch that Super Bowl with San Francisco, there were holds all over the place at critical times that they did not call. And I'm not even a San Francisco fan. I'm just telling you, rewatch it, and it's all over the place. And they led the league in holds during the season. So go ahead, Ed. That's my two cents.
All we've heard all season long was, what's the most dangerous team in the NFL that you don't want to see in the playoffs? Who has a chance to make noise? And it's always the Green Bay Packers. They're the youngest team in the NFL. You don't want to play them. But when you look at the best records in the NFC so far this year, who has it been? Philadelphia Eagles, Detroit Lions, and the Minnesota Vikings. What's Green Bay's record so far this year against those three teams? They're 0-4. 0-4. And so
they're only 4 losses, by the way.
Right. So, so they lose to the Eagles in the opener, but then the next week they play the Colts and then followed by the Titans. They win those 2 games. Oh my gosh, they are Super Bowl contenders.
Let me correct you. Aren't they 11 and are they 12 and 4?
They're 11-4.
11-4. Yeah, they got to play this weekend.
Right.
So they still have to play Minnesota again.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Okay. Yes. So they're not 0-4 against those teams. I was confused.
They're 0-4 against
not Minnesota and Lions. They got to play Minnesota tomorrow.
Yeah, but they've lost to Minnesota once. They've lost to the Lions twice.
So that's 0-3 against those teams we were talking about.
Well, yeah, but he lost to Philly, he's trying to say.
I thought you were just talking about division teams. Okay, that's where I was confused. Yeah.
I had Philly in there.
Okay.
So they lose to the Eagles, but then they're still Super Bowl contenders. Then they win a couple games that are very winnable. They lose to the Vikings. Well, Jordan Love was not at 100%, so you got to pass there. Then they lose to the Lions. Well, then the next week they beat the Bears by 1 point, and all of a sudden they're Super Bowl contenders again. And you go right down the list. And then they lose to the Lions again, but then the next week they beat the Seahawks. So, well, they're the team you don't want to see in the playoffs. And then this last week they play the Saints, which I believe in that game the Saints didn't have their starting quarterback. They didn't have their starting running back. They were the Saints are like an injury list, just like every other team in the NFL.
Yeah.
But the Saints are playing shorthanded, so Green Bay steamrolls them 34-0. The only shutout of the season in the NFL. So suddenly again they've reached this Super Bowl contending status again. When again they're 0-4 against the teams that matter in the NFC this year, so far anyway. It just gets sickening. So let's move on to the next topic.
that was pretty abrupt.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to really lose your cool on this because
we'll kind of steamroll that right into this. Do you think that the stage is being set for the Vikings-Lions winner take all in Week 18?
They've got to beat the Packers this weekend. Is that game at Lambeau or at home?
They beat the Packers at Lambeau.
That's right. So it's at home.
Yeah, so it's at home.
I'll take Minnesota all day at home against Green Bay. All day. But here's the problem. That last game is in Detroit, correct?
Yes. But
Okay.
look at Detroit's only 2 losses of the season. We're at home. They're undefeated.
That's weird.
The Lions are undefeated on the road. Their 2 losses are at home.
It's funny you bring this game up, but I would say that if it was Green Bay and Detroit, if you take Green Bay and flip-flop them and they had Minnesota's record, I would venture to say that this game we're talking about, that it's a Week 18 game between the Vikings and Lions, they would already be advertising it if it was Green Bay and Detroit. I think they would.
Ugh.
I think they would already be advertising the matchup between Green Bay and Detroit. But since it's Minnesota, I mean, I hate to think that the NFL would be pulling for, one team or another. I don't think it should matter. I mean, let the games play out however they play out. But I would have to believe that, because of what we're talking about with Green Bay, that they would much rather Green Bay beat Minnesota this weekend. Because then then the North sorts itself out. You've got Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay. Because I don't know if tiebreakers. Let's throw this out there, and you may be able to answer this question. If Minnesota were to lose to Green Bay this weekend, so then that puts Detroit at what, 12 or 13-2? It would put Minnesota at 12-3. Is that right?
If Detroit wins, they're 14-2.
14-2.
Minnesota would go to 13-3.
And then Green Bay would be one behind them at 12-4.
Yeah.
Okay. If that scenario happens this weekend, which I do not believe it's going to, if Minnesota were to beat Detroit then the following week, how is the tiebreaker? Do you have any information on how the tiebreaker would work if it plays out that way?
Well, the only thing I've heard is that if it comes down to a winner-take-all game, of course that's easy. Whoever wins is in.
Correct.
Wasn't it conference record?
Right now, if the Vikings went out, they're the number 1 seed. And with the Eagles losing, that just made it that much easier. Because now the Eagles, for all intents and purposes, are out.
They're in the 2
number
seed.
1 seed discussion. And that's why I think they're holding Jalen Hurts out this weekend, because he had a concussion last week. And even though he's been cleared to play, I don't think they want to take any chances, because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Game. So they're holding him out. But as far as the Lions go, if the Lions wouldn't have lost, the Vikings in a tiebreaker scenario with the Lions, if they had identical records after Week 18, Minnesota would have went in because they got a better strength of schedule. Their wins.
So Minnesota can lose this weekend and still beat the Lions in Week 18 and be the number 1 seed in the NFC.
That's not I don't know for sure. I haven't seen that scenario.
Well, I think doesn't it go conference record after?
The conference record is first.
No, division record. Yeah. Oh, okay.
If you look at the Lions' losses,
no, the first is head to head.
Which would be 1-1. Yeah, which would be 1-1.
Which would be 1-1.
Okay,
so
right.
then I believe it's conference record.
Yeah, so if it had ended in a tie and they would have beat Minnesota twice, then
Minnesota. So currently, conference record, Detroit is 9-1 and Minnesota is 8-2.
So a loss to the Packers is a loss in the conference. So the only way that Minnesota gets the number 1 seed is if they win, they beat Green Bay, and then they followed up with a win in Detroit.
If conference record is the second.
Right. If the Lions drop their game to San Francisco this weekend, which ain't going to happen, but
No,
There's
no,
that
but
scenario, too.
I'm just saying if Minnesota wins out, they are the number one seed.
Yeah, they are the number one seed.
Yeah.
And
San Francisco
could
is
be,
not.
It could be division record also. I'm not sure, but in the division currently, Detroit is 5-0, and Minnesota's 4-1 or 3-1.
Right, but I'm saying if they beat Green Bay, then
Yeah.
it's a winner take all at the end of the season. Which I want that. I will watch that game. I don't care if the Bears are on or not. I'm watching.
Yeah, you would think that
And a
game
winner
would
take
get more PR. I mean, if you had two teams that are potentially 14-2 heading down to the final week, and one team's going to be a 5 seed.
So I got to look on the schedule here. What are the odds? I don't know when that is scheduled for, that game.
They've already, I think it's flexed to Sunday night already.
Okay, I was just saying, I'm like, if that does not get flexed to a primetime game, then our whole darling question has been answered. If that game happens on noon on Sunday,
it's still it's on ESPN's website. It says to be determined. They haven't flexed it yet, at least according to ESPN.
Well, they flexed the Viking game from noon. It was supposed to be noon tomorrow. They've moved it to 3:25. But of course, that could be the Packer effect because it's the Green Bay Packers.
right?
But I would be shocked if they had two teams at 14-2 with a winner take all game coming and they didn't flex it to Sunday night.
Yeah, I'm just saying ESPN,
flex
it
it
might
to-
have been flexed and ESPN just hasn't updated it. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
flex that to Sunday because there's no Monday night game, correct? In Week 18, there's no Monday
there's
night
no
game.
Monday night game.
So
this would
make
be
it
final game.
the last game of the best division, winner take all, Sunday night. That game is going to get some of the biggest ratings NFL seen all year long.
Can you believe that you could either get the number one seed in a bye week on the very last night of the season, or you could be a number 5 seed that has to go on the road
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
on
That's
wild
crazy.
card weekend? That's crazy.
and I would think that we're not going to have this argument now, but I would think that you guys of all people would be so disappointed in that because Minnesota has proven to be one of the top 2 or 3, 1, 2, or 3 teams all year long, that you would expect that the NFL would do something about that and get those guys close to the top instead of just settling in that 5 seed.
Well, Chad keeps continuing to shoot me grins off to the side every once in a while, and I know exactly what he's thinking because he's had to talk me off the ledge many years over our friendship of 30 plus years. And they really in. And just when you're almost ready to believe in them, they rip your heart out.
Yeah, I've watched my dad's pain several times.
I thought of you, Ed. I was scrolling through YouTube the other day, and they had the full game of the 98 AFC or NFC title game, Minnesota Vikings v. Atlanta Falcons. And I was like, oh, Ed.
I was in the stadium. I was the last. Mama Bear and I were the last couple out of that stadium. In fact, I had to lift my legs because the dude come through with the sweeper, and he was sweeping the seats out already. And I was still sitting there just a daze, trying to figure out how I could get a piece of Gary Anderson.
Oh God, and not go to jail.
Who had been a great field goal kicker his entire career.
He hadn't missed a field goal all season. And my boss at work had told me that if the Vikings made it to the Super Bowl, he was paying for me to go. I was going to the Super Bowl after that game. I mean, I'm still not over that. And that was in 98.
Jesus.
I mean, that
26 years ago.
Gosh, yeah. Anyway, so we better move on. I don't want this to turn. I don't want.
We don't want to cry about
I don't
Minnesota
want to ruin
past.
the good juju.
Yeah.
Here's the next topic. Will McCarthy survive in Dallas?
100% now.
I would say that the words coming out of the great Jerry Jones, he sure changed his tune here the last week or two. He sure sounds like somebody who's going to give him an extension.
Can somebody tell me? So Dallas has won some pretty solid games against some potential playoff teams here in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
Well, so what is Dallas missing, and how have they been able to win these games again? Who's out for Dallas?
What? Well, Dak.
Oh,
What are they missing? What are they missing even with Dak?
They've been rolling with Cooper Rush.
So
And
Cooper Rush
had-
has come in and done what?
Are they 4-2 or 5-2 down the stretch?
I mean,
They are 4-1 in the last 5 games.
yeah.
They have beat the Commanders, the pathetic Giants, the resurging Panthers, and the playoff-bound Buccaneers.
How
They
is that?
They finished with the Eagles and the Redskins.
How is that possible?
If he can win these last 2 games, he keeps his job. For sure.
McCarthy is going to keep his job, and I'll tell you why. Jerry Jones is not very smart, and I'm not saying Mike McCarthy is not a good coach.
Jerry Jones is a smart man. He's not a smart football man.
Correct. Oh yeah. Listen, you're not worth what Jerry Jones is worth being an idiot. I'm not going that deep. When I say that, it's football. That's it.
I was just clarifying.
Yes, and thank you for clarifying. But Jerry Jones likes comfort. Mike McCarthy is his pal. And Jerry Jones, look how long Jerry Jones, how many years did you see that they talked about Jason Garrett losing his job before he actually lost his job in Dallas? 4? Was he on the hot seat for 4 years before Jerry Jones finally had to cut bait with Jason Garrett? What would make anybody feel
bad? That was bad.
So what is different about Mike McCarthy?
If you look at McCarthy's resume, it's not even. It runs circles around him.
Yeah,
I'll give Jerry something. Jerry believes in continuity. That's why he stuck with Jason Garrett for so long. It's just he doesn't always realize when bad coaching negates continuity. So, I mean, at the end of last year, when everybody was calling for Tomlin to get fired in Pittsburgh, I was like, are they insane? Are they insane?
Yeah.
He is a great coach. Are they insane? Now, McCarthy, if I were Jerry Jones, I would move on, but I would have moved on with Mr. Belichick, and he already blew that. So I don't know what he's going to do.
Well, technically, Belichick has a clause in that college setup. I mean,
does he?
He does. Till June, he has a clause. So
really,
he does. There is a clause in there that it's something to do with the buyout. That if he leaves before June, which means that covers pretty much any NFL job. If he leaves before June, then I think his buyout is like $1 million.
So there's still a chance the Bears could hire him.
We don't want him.
Oh, yes, we do. We don't get into this discussion.
Yeah,
yes.
right. Yeah, no.
Yes, we do.
But this has been well documented. Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, for all intents and purposes, is a Jerry Jones guy. Like, he goes to his office every Friday. I mean, he'll sit in there and I don't know, one of the shows like he
tells Jerry how great he is.
Whatever the reasoning behind it, Jerry Jones loves him.
You know what?
But that is something, and I think we've talked about this before. That is something that kills football teams. you can't love somebody so much that you can't see past the blinders, and the blinders can stay for a long time.
Yeah, Jerry
And
Jones has
Jason Garrett
Prescott also.
Right. Now we're seeing Dallas with Cooper Rush having a resurgence, 4-1, beat 2 potential playoff teams, playing really well. I mean, now CeeDee Lamb is out, so that may hurt them a little bit. But I mean,
I think it's good for us NFC teams because it just means that the Cowboys will be irrelevant again next year.
Correct. I agree. Or win 12 games and lose in the first round.
Contract for. I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's fine. But no, you're correct. But I do think McCarthy 100% survives in Dallas. And this late end of the year push that they've had is 100% going to save his job. If it doesn't, hopefully, Dallas goes to Minnesota and gets Flores, or they get somebody like that, and hurts one of the NFC teams. I don't know. Just because we're so bad, we need LL.
And the Deion Sanders stock has kind of waned a little bit.
That's because I think
I honestly believe Deion when he says, "I don't want to coach in the NFL." I honestly believe him.
Well, if when someone asked me weeks back when it was a hot topic, I would have said Dallas needs to hire Deion every day of the week and twice on Sundays, and they need to do it now, because he walks into Dallas with the kind of locker room cred that gets him respect on day one and can right the ship. But now I think Deion has probably heard so much talk about how, now that his kid's gone, he's gone from Colorado, and that's the only reason why he was there and everything. I think he's kind of got a new fire burning that he wants to show these guys that, with
he's recruited
trophy winner gone and his son gone and everything, that he can still have Colorado be a powerhouse team. So I give him at least another couple years at Colorado before he moves on.
I think Deion has kind of shifted gears a little bit. I think he enjoys shaping young players. Mm-hmm. I think he enjoys that part of the game where, it changes in the NFL. In the NFL, you're a manager of men. That you're managing them. You're doing the best to put them in the position, and it's up to them. But in college, you get that ability to shape young men. And I think Deion really enjoys that. At least in every press, in every press conference that I've heard and of Deion's, those are things that he repeats over and over: shaping young men, and these are the type of men I want in my program, and those types of things. So I think that's probably why Deion is going to be at Colorado maybe longer than anybody thought.
So
because I think he enjoys it.
So Amanda brings up another hot topic that we could talk about just for a short minute. Flores.
I think he's safe. He's suing the NFL. Nobody's hiring him to be a head coach.
No.
If Minnesota has a good thing going with him as defensive coordinator, and it frees up Kevin O'Connell to do the things he wants to do with the offense, is there money? Because Minnesota ownership is definitely willing to throw money around a little bit. I think they're more than willing to give him a good enough contract that, is it a pretty good gig? I know he has aspirations of being a head coach again, but is he better off just staying where he's at and getting even more cred?
Yeah, nobody's hiring him for the head coach.
No, not when you're suing the NFL. You're in trouble. But think about this, and I'm sure we could all throw out names across the board for different teams, but there are just some guys that are not built to be head coaches. They are outstanding offensive coordinators. They are outstanding defensive coordinators. They are outstanding special teams guys. But when you put them in the head coaching role, and now their focus is not only the defense. Now we've got other things that I have to manage and I have to do. It takes their focus away, and they're not able to do it. Now, Obviously, we can give several examples where this offensive coordinator became a head coach and they thrived. But that's an individual deal. And I don't know, again, what was it, 2 years he was in Miami?
Yeah.
Not even one or two.
Crap into Tua.
100%. And he said, well, I've learned from that. I mean, okay, but he might be an example of he's just not cut out to be a head coach. You may aspire to be a head coach, but your honey hole is defensive coordinator because that's
Spagnuolo in Kansas City.
Yes. Look at what he's done with that defense.
You talk about Minnesota. I mean,
The
can
Daniels
Kevin O'Connell
kid.
have it any better that he can focus strictly on
Yeah.
the offense when he knows he's got able hands taking care of the defense?
Yeah.
The old Patriots offensive coordinator, Daniels.
It seems like any of Bill Belichick's coaching tree.
Yep. Charlie.
Were very good defensive, offensive guys. They all became head coaches. And
Rome, what was that defensive coordinator? Rome, whatever. Yeah.
Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
He
Well,
he was
the OG D coordinator.
But he was a dumpster fire at Detroit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it just is what it is. Sometimes guys are just not cut out to be a head coach because it's a totally different gig.
Man, you're safe at least this year and next, I would think.
Yeah, I would say it's going to be.
So I want to bring up one last hot topic before we get to our NFL picks, and then we'll turn our attention to UFL and college. This next one I want to bring up. You know, for a couple years they used this guy, and he did a great job, but they always kept saying, you know what? Let's just wait and see. Let's wait and see. You know, we're in no hurry. But now it's crunch time, and it kind of sounds like they're starting to waffle a bit. What's up with San Francisco, Brock Purdy? Now that it's time to pay the man, sounds like San Francisco may be willing to jump ship.
If they do that, that's the stupidest move any franchise has done since the Bears hired Matt Eberflus.
I've even heard so much as saying that Kyle Shanahan wants to try his luck with Kirk Cousins. He wants to try and talk to Sam Darnold, see if he can get Sam Darnold back to San Francisco.
If that happens, I would gladly take Brock Purdy in Chicago. Gladly. I mean, here's the deal. I get this, and of course, I've argued this at length, and you know, as an Iowa State fan, of course, a former Iowa State player, but I don't know what else he could prove, because if we talk about the MVP race in conjunction to this, what does Lamar have on his team? Derrick Henry, Flowers. You know, he's got a couple of solid receivers, Flowers, and who's the other guy? Help me out.
Mark Edwards.
Edwards. Oh, that's the tight end. But
Rashad Bateman.
I mean, he's loaded. He's loaded. But then you look at Josh Allen. He just got Amari Cooper. Otherwise, who is he throwing touchdowns to?
Amari Cooper hasn't really done anything.
No, but who is he handing the ball off to? It certainly wasn't Derrick Henry caliber, and it certainly wasn't throwing the ball to the guys the caliber of Lamar Jackson. But yet, we're okay with Lamar Jackson putting up these gaudy numbers and things with all the talent he has, and that means Lamar Jackson is really good. But it comes to a quarterback like Brock Purdy, all we ever hear is, well, it's because of this, it's because of that. Do you think that if Flowers blows his knee out when Ayuk did, Derrick Henry would be on the shelf for more than half a year, and you know the tight end misses 4 or 5 games like Kittle has, and let's face it, I think we can all agree Deebo Samuel is not the Deebo Samuel of old. I think we can see that. I do anyway, because I do watch a few.
He's one of the biggest NFL busts that got paid. That's got paid.
Yes.
Well, Brandon Ayuk before the injury, he was still playing like garbage.
And so what do you come off of? He skips out on all of training. Has the contract dispute. Trent Williams, left tackle, same thing.
Well, the whole line is trash except for Trent Williams.
Yes, and Trent Williams is hurt, so he's out. So why is it that when it comes to Lamar Jackson, it's all Lamar, even though he's got Derrick Henry and Flowers, all these guys around him? But then when it comes to Purdy, well, he's only good because of all these guys. I've never understood that. Again, I watch Brock Purdy throw the ball. I watch him on time. I watch him finding the open guys. That's all I've ever wanted out of a Chicago quarterback.
His anticipation in throws is fantastic. It's elite level.
So why, Chad? Make me understand why they treat Purdy like they do as opposed to a Lamar Jackson or some other quarterback. I get it. He's not Lamar. I'm not comparing them. He's a totally different athlete. But why?
That's easy because it was the last pick in the draft. So nobody is convinced, just like Sam Darnold, nobody is convinced that Brock Purdy is for real because he was Mr. Irrelevant. Just like nobody's convinced that Sam Darnold is real because of his time with the Jets. So here, you tell me, I shot out a short list of teams in our chat group the other day. And you tell me that these teams wouldn't be clamoring and lining up to pay him $50+ million a year. The Saints.
Yes.
The Rams, if what's his face retires.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Seattle.
Sure. They'd take him over Geno Smith in a heartbeat.
Raiders. You can tell me that they would rather have him than draft some rookie quarterback?
Yeah.
Miami. Tua can't stay healthy. Now, they committed all that money, so they probably can't do it, but they would love to do it.
Yeah.
Tennessee.
100%.
The Giants, the Jets, and the Browns.
Yeah.
The line would be so long down the street to sign his ass, it wouldn't even be funny.
Yeah. But I just
then San Francisco, who's been touted as these geniuses in front office for the last 5 or 6 years because they did cut bait and they did go with him. Now they would have egg on their face because they'd look like a bunch of idiots for not staying with him.
So let me ask you this question, Ed. Do you think the reason the animosity toward Purdy is what it is because NFL teams, they don't like to be wrong, and they don't want a Mr. Irrelevant coming to the league and doing some of the things that he's done. It's just easier to say, well, we weren't wrong. It's just because of what he's surrounded with. But with Lamar Jackson, it's not who he's surrounded with. Lamar's just awesome. I mean, is it that type of philosophy?
Well, how has that narrative changed, though? Look at Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner had the greatest show on turf. And he was a nobody quarterback.
Yeah.
That got signed as a free agent that was bagging groceries.
Yeah.
And they made him he's in the Hall of Fame. Of course, he's got a couple Super Bowl championships. But he's in the Hall of Fame. And they were more than willing to put him on a pedestal.
But so that would have been the greatest show on turf was 99. When was the greatest show on turf with Kurt Warner?
That was 99, 2000,
2002.
Period.
And then
right.
Yeah, and then Mike, whatever his name is, ruined him.
Yeah, Mike Martz. But
no.
When did America in the sports world stop rooting for the underdog? There is no better underdog story in sports than a guy like Brock Purdy, and all they want to do is trash him every chance they get, and I don't understand it. I just don't. And you're right, Chad. Every one of those teams you lined up would pay him. Come quarterback for us.
Well, I hope he sticks it to him and moves on.
I do too. Because if that's the type of thank you he's going to get, I'd walk too. I mean, what do you say?
All right, it's time to get to the picks. We're going to wrap up this NFL segment. We're going to get to our picks.
All right.
I got the first one up, Eric. You can take it from there.
Okay.
First game. Arizona. Wait, did I put?
You put the wrong one. I got it.
Wrong one.
There you go.
Okay,
You
there
had the
we go.
wrong one. Jeez.
Denver 9-6 at Cincinnati. Cincinnati was at 4-8 and left for dead. They've kind of halfway scrounged their way back into things here. And now there's a very real scenario that they could make it into the playoffs with a big win here. I will start off the picks by taking Cincinnati. You want to talk about NFL darlings? Who would you rather see in the playoffs, Bo Nix or Joe Burrow?
Oh, the NFL would rather see Joe
The
Burrow.
NFL ain't hoping it's Joe Burrow.
Yeah. I have a funny stat for you. 2015, I think it was the last time Denver was playing for the playoffs to get into the playoffs. Did Denver win or lose last week?
Denver lost.
34-27, correct?
Yeah, they lost to
Yes. Who did they lose to?
Denver lost to, give me a second. I got it. They lost to the Chargers.
Okay.
That was the Thursday night football, wasn't it?
In 2015, the week before Denver played Cincinnati to go to the playoffs in 2015, they lost 34-27, and I believe it was to the Chargers. Fast forward to 2024. They lose to the Chargers again, 34-27. And who are they playing this week to clinch a playoff berth? Cincinnati. You can't make weird stuff like that up. That it happens. I mean, I saw that come across my phone. I'm like, that's the kind of stuff in sports. Like it's like seeing a comet that only comes around every 8,000 years, you know. However, I don't think it's going to be the same turnout. Denver did win in 2015, but I think Cincinnati. It's at Cincinnati. I've got to go with Cincinnati here.
Yeah, give me Cincinnati. Joe Burrow they're playing for something. Top 3 quarterback in the league. He is absolutely phenomenal, and he's throwing the ball to one of the best wide receiver in the league, if not the best. I mean, yeah, give me Cincy.
Brett's being a warrior this morning. I didn't get his picks from him before, so he's toughing it out, man. He's taking Cincinnati as well.
All right.
Next game up, Arizona, 7-8. They can only get to 9 wins. They can't get to the 10 that Chad promised.
I mean, we don't make this stuff up. We got to go back to the tape.
You kind of do. You kind of do. You kind of do make it up. You kind of do.
7-8, Arizona Cardinals traveling to the LA Rams, who's 9-6. LA Rams are 6.5-point favorites. You look at the LA Rams as one of those teams that, if I was looking at a dangerous team that could make some noise as a wild card, they would be it.
Yeah,
they have the offense that likely. I mean, I just think they're more of a threat than the Packers are. But I will let you guys start out. I can't give you all the right picks right off the bat.
I got the Rams because I don't trust the Jekyll and Hyde Arizona.
Brett is taking the Rams as well.
Well,
you got to take Arizona, Chad.
My head says Rams, but my ego says I got to go with the Cardinals.
And I got the Rams. I got the Rams. Next game, the Jalen Hurtless Philadelphia Eagles. 12.
So who's starting at quarterback for them?
Yeah, who is it in at quarterback? Who is their backup?
Hell, their backup, isn't it? It's not.
Is it Kenny Pickett?
Yes.
Oh, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
You know
Kenny
what?
Pickett.
When he played with the Steelers last year, to me, he looked like a real quarterback. I mean, he had the size and everything. He looked like an NFL quarterback. Is it just me? But when you see him in a Philadelphia Eagle uniform, he looks like he's like a Nick Foles even looks like he's got more weight on him than
You're right. I thought about
Pickett.
that too. I'm like,
And
man, he
Kenny
looks like a
Pickett
stick
looks
figure.
like a string being out there. I'm like, what is
Yeah.
that?
He's 6. They have him listed 6'3", 220.
I'm not. He must have just had the flu and dropped 10, 15 pounds because he. Of course, I'm looking fit and trim this week.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even with Kenny Pickett at quarterback, Vegas says Philly's going to win by 7.5.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, CeeDee Lamb is out for Dallas now, so I'm taking Philly.
I got to take Philly as well.
Yeah, give me Philly.
What's
Saquon
Sick
Barkley.
Brett got? What's Sick Brett
Saquon
got?
Barkley.
Brett said Pickett. Does that mean his pick was Philly as well?
Yeah, he just popped up.
Yeah,
Said Philly.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I know there's been a lot of you guys that have, earlier this season gave me a bunch of crap for this. But you know what? I really don't care. So heading into week 17, we are at the Green Bay, Minnesota game. And instead of me actually telling you who I'm taking, I'm just going to let you watch this.
You know what I noticed in that? If you look, that crowd is full of a bunch of white people, and they can't even get their claps together.
And say what you want. Say what you want. Unless you have been there in person to experience it, it is something to be seen, man. It is something to be seen.
What Vegas is saying on
It's
a
a
neutral
toss-up.
field, Green Bay is favored.
Yeah, on a neutral field. They're getting 1.5 at home. That's all Minnesota's getting. I
What is-
disagree.
Of
what
course
is
they
Vegas
are,
though?
because they're Super Bowl contenders for like the next 5 years. They got the youngest team in the NFL.
They look at that. They're favored at a neutral site. That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm taking Minnesota. I am
That's
If
some
you,
Minnesota.
Sam
haven't,
Darnold
if you
hate.
haven't figured it out yet, I am taking the Vikings.
Yeah, give me Minnesota. Marty says Green Bay.
Ooh,
Brett's going Green Bay.
Brett is going Green Bay.
Woo!
Ouch. Ouch. He's trying to make some ground up. He's saying, I'm in
Mike,
last.
Green
I got to
Bay.
make some ground up.
Oh my God. And I was wishing for a speedy recovery for Brett.
He says, I'm hoping I'm wrong. Reverse psychology.
Oh, reverse
But
psychology.
He's using the Chad philosophy.
He's trying to lay down a gank.
Yeah.
Marty's saying Green Bay. Mike's saying Green Bay. Y'all, man, I tell you what.
So Sam
Ed's feelings are
Darnold,
hurt now.
They're
Ed's feelings are hurt.
feeding. They're feeding into this media frenzy with the Packers.
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
Ugh. All right, next one.
Next game, we got Atlanta, who Penix gave them a new resurgence on life with a win last week, which I still can't understand how, Atlanta beat Tampa Bay twice. I don't
I don't get it.
figure that. I don't know how that ever happened. So
They're
Tampa
ahead
Bay
in the
has
division.
nobody to blame but themselves, being in the predicament that they're in. But we got 8-7 Atlanta playing Washington, who's 10-5. Washington's 4.5-point favorites. I'm rolling with Washington. Marty's taking Atlanta.
I'm trying to find some games here that I can go opposite of Ed, just to try to make up some ground, but I just can't.
You know what? I'm so far back at this point. Give me Hot Atlanta.
I got Washington because I don't believe in Atlanta. Like this, to me, that's a stretch. I mean, Michael Penix didn't have a real great game
No.
last week. I mean, Washington coming off that win in Philadelphia, they've got something to play for. Like, I don't know, man.
Or they could be dismissing Atlanta after
Correct.
that big win.
There's that angle too. And that's, I mean, who'd Brett have?
Brett took Washington.
Okay.
By a field goal.
I feel
So what'd you go with, Eric?
I went with Washington.
Okay.
Looks like
So the
Mike's
last
got
game,
Washington. Marty's got Atlanta. Marty's got Atlanta. Mike has Washington. Brett has Washington by a field goal. Atlanta's a bipolar team.
Brett, by the way, Brett wants to do something unseemly to the Packers with a cactus.
Yeah.
Well, before we go to the last game, Dan Campbell comes out with a press conference yesterday,
Ugh.
basically letting everybody know that he don't give a damn whether they're first seed, last seed, middle seed. He don't care what's at stake.
He'll go for it on fourth down.
He's
no
going
matter what.
all out tomorrow with all his guys to make sure they win this game. And I don't disagree with the fact that he wants to win the game, but he's the kind of guy, the kind of coach that if you're the opposing team and you play your cards right, you say all the crap. Whether you believe it or not, you say all the crap you want him to do just the opposite of, and you preach it all week long because
All week long.
he will pump his chest and he will do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Stupid decisions.
Here's the deal. I do, that I've never had anything against Detroit because they've suffered so long. Long. Never been to a Super Bowl. I think they're one of 5 or 6 teams that have never been to a Super Bowl. But Dan Campbell, for all of his moxie and all of his alpha male crap, it's not – I appreciate that. But as a head coach, your job is to keep it right here. Like, you have to be able to evaluate a situation and say, I realize I could go for it in this spot, and my team is going to be like, yeah. But this is what's best for my team to potentially win this game. I don't think he has that ability in his brain. And I almost root for Dan Campbell to cost Detroit a game by doing that dumb stuff. You and your damn dog.
I forget this every week. So
no, you don't. You pull
Eric,
your dog
I
out.
appreciate the fact. I got to get he's got to get trained to look in the camera. Look in the camera.
Yeah.
I got to get him trained because every week I forget, and he just sits back there nice and patient, doesn't bark at me, no nothing. But you guys are running out of games, dude. You better get things figured out because
we're not running out of games. We got the UFL yet. I'm still the UFL champion.
This is a concrete puppy here, and it would cost me next to a pretty good bunch of coin to ship that to the eventual winner. That it's going to be a lot cheaper for me if it stays right here at home. So
yeah, you got to send it when it. You didn't send me that dog when I won the UFL. You and Brett.
That's because halfway through the season you bolted on me.
I still sent my picks in faithfully.
Yeah, Chad, check this out. We had our show on. what was our show? Was it on Thursday nights back then?
Yeah,
I think it was
Tuesday
Thursday
nights.
nights back then.
We'd do our picks, and he wouldn't send me his picks. And then he'd wait till like the morning of the games or whatever, and then he'd send me the picks after he's had a chance to check out
That's
all the injury
injuries.
statuses.
That's just as false as us saying that Chad claimed Arizona was going to win 10 games. Now, were there weeks where that happened? Yeah. But you also were not at baseball games till 11 o'clock all week long and stuff. So, I mean, let's pump the brakes a little bit on I was using to my advantage. I wasn't just sitting at home going, what's their picks? Okay, I'm going to wait till Saturday and see how things come out. No. Chad, that's false. Anyway, I'm taking Detroit.
I got Detroit.
Do I just dig a deeper hole or do I go for it?
Yeah.
There's no. What's the use
San
of getting
Francisco.
second place?
If you want
or
to
third
take San
place?
Francisco, you go right ahead, dude.
They are mash units, and Brett's exactly right. I mean, both sides of the ball for San Francisco this year has been
Did
a
San
total.
Francisco get its running backs back?
They're
Are
on
they-
like their fifth running back.
They're like,
Are they still on the fifth string guy?
I think so. I mean, jeez, I can't even imagine.
You know what? I'm just gonna dig this hole deeper. Just call me the grave digger. Give me San Francisco.
I know Brett's
And
taking.
what's the point of coming in third?
I don't know,
yeah,
man.
you've kind of.
I'll let
fallen
Brett
on
pass
hard
me
times.
up. I'll go for it, and Brett can pass me up.
You got to lose a lot of games for Brett to
So
pass you
did
up.
so did Brett actually make a pick or?
Yes, Brett took Detroit.
Did he take Detroit?
He said San
Okay.
Francisco is a mash unit. We also have Brett's been commenting, but I think we have Mike took Detroit.
Marty took Detroit.
Marty took Detroit. So
Everybody with a sane mind who isn't way behind in picks is taking Detroit.
is taking Detroit.
So since we talked last, we've had a little bit of update in the UFL. We've got the big schedule reveal going down tomorrow. The Fox is going to, during their Sunday afternoon games, they are going to do a schedule reveal. Now, whether that means commercials or whether they're going to do it pregame, halftime shows, who knows? But the big schedule reveal is slated for tomorrow. So whoever your favorite team is, get ready for that to take place.
LA Express.
Since the Bears have been such a dumpster fire, I am super excited for the UFL season.
I'm going with the Chicago Blitz.
So with that, there's been a couple quarterback signings. Birmingham's finally they're bringing back old Matt Corral.
Matt Corral is back with Birmingham.
Back with Birmingham as their quarterback.
And the most exciting news for the UFL, Ed, is St. Louis has found their dude, and I am excited about it. I think Max Duggan brings a younger version, a scrambling aspect, the type of thing that maybe A.J. McCarron could not do. I don't know how you feel as a Battlehawk fan, but I am excited about Max Duggan being QB1 for St. Louis.
Oh, I feel good about it. Although when he was with TCU, he had a great run, but when it came right down to it and the spotlight got put on him, TCU had a grease fire in the national championship game. So is he battle tested? I guess we'll see. But
He had to win the game to get to the national championship. Wasn't it Michigan? Who did TCU beat that year? I can't remember for some reason.
yeah, TCU beat Michigan to get there.
Correct. I mean, I think Max Duggan is going to do some things with his legs as well as his arm that's gonna improve the Battlehawk offense. Because A.J. McCarron was not a scrambler.
And,
He was
and
not.
do I think that their quarterback room of Max Duggan, Cordero, and Wilkins is going to be their final quarterback room.
No.
I think Wilkins was kind of signed as an insurance policy just to have a third guy. I think he showed last year in the couple games he got to play that he's not the answer. He can scramble. Yeah, that's all well and good. But when you need him to sit in the pocket and throw the ball,
can't do it.
He can't do it. So anyway, before we get to our college segment, let's end with this. Let's go to a break in courtesy of the UFL. Let's take a look at this, and we will talk college on the other end.
The best of the best is coming together. There's no more what ifs. We're on one league now.
Ready to set it off. I'm number one in the building.
There's no more talk. Put up or shut up. We'll see who the top dogs is now.
Strap it up and line it up.
Joining forces means more power.
Delirium in D.C.
More potential. More reach.
Unbelievable.
Look for a chance to play ball, man. A chance to show that you still got it.
The hunger is unreal.
Helmet goes on. Nothing else in the world matters.
Tell them I'm ready. Whenever they walk, I'm ready.
A league that pushes the envelope and opens the door to living the dream.
I've been an underdog my whole career.
Football is kind of my last resort. If I could just get this one little break.
Brace the moment, man. This is as fun as it gets right here.
United, they stand to stake a claim to springtime for America's favorite game. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready. No, we ready. Yes, sir. Ready to run it back.
Hell yeah, I'm ready.
For a new era.
Let's go.
New challenges.
Best in the nation.
A new beginning.
The time is now.
Line it up, Playboy. Let's do it.
I can't wait to see you guys play.
Are you ready?
This is the United Football League.
Just don't blink.
Can't wait, Eric.
Chad, you are driving to my house. And then when Jill and I make the trek for the opening game in St. Louis, you are going with us. You can bring Jill along too if you want. And we are going to the opening game in St. Louis. And you're going to see what spring football is all about. And you are going to be just as hooked as Ed and I are to spring football. I promise you. The atmosphere in St. Louis is second to none.
I'm washing my hair that day.
Jesus.
You're
going.
I'm washing my hair.
It's a prerequisite. You're going.
They're going to Friday nights this year. I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if the opening Friday night game to start the season off isn't a home game for the St. Louis Battlehawks. And I would say it's going to pit them either against San Antonio, Birmingham, maybe DC. But Eric, I mean, would you agree? I mean,
I think they want to get it kicked off right. And listen, I'm not taking it away from any other team, but I mean, you know, St. Louis and Birmingham are the flagships. What better way to kick off the UFL season than have Birmingham at St. Louis? Because this year Birmingham will be at St. Louis, correct? Didn't we go to Birmingham last year? Ed, we went to Birmingham last year, correct?
You come down for the
No, I'm saying St. Louis played at Birmingham last year.
Yeah, St. Louis. Yeah,
so the Birmingham game will be at St. Louis this year.
You look at the Battlehawks' home schedule this year. You've got the Michigan Panthers coming to St. Louis. Michigan Panthers lost out to Birmingham on the USFL side to go to the championship. You got Birmingham coming to St. Louis, who went to the UFL championship. San Antonio is going to always come at least once to St. Louis, and they get to do it twice this year because last year they loved making that trip so bad.
Right.
And, they just went ahead and scheduled them twice this year in St. Louis and said, whatever. So between Michigan, Birmingham, DC's coming to St. Louis, San Antonio twice. I mean, you talk about a home schedule that is second to none.
Yeah, you're correct.
St. Louis has got an impact game, home game, every single
week.
game of the year.
Every week.
Every week.
And here's the deal. The Roughnecks have totally revamped their team. I don't anticipate them being doormats. The Renegades, I think this year is shaping up to be. There'll obviously be some surprises. Last year, Memphis was a surprise for us. We had Memphis being a lot better than they were. There'll be some surprises again, but I think this year is shaping up to be one of the best years yet.
And it's also getting that time of year where it's time to start ramping up a little bit more of the UFL talk. And we've got a little ace in our back pocket, don't we, Eric, that we need to bring on yet?
We do.
And,
you want to do it?
So we will have to get a hold of him and see what his availability is.
Yeah.
You guys might remember him because I pulled off one of my best days of golf that day. Mr. Chuck Long, Iowa Hawkeye,
for the Renegades,
is currently the offensive coordinator for the Arlington Renegades. Hopefully we will get him on soon. But
yeah, your golf game was second to none that day. Yeesh.
Man, I tell you what. We don't want to even go in. We don't even.
No, we don't have that kind of time,
we
man.
don't have that kind of time.
You want to talk about dumpster fire, Chads? That was a dumpster fire that day for Ed. He was ready to quit.
I didn't even. It was so bad. I didn't even take any of the prize money that we won. We won the flight, and I just let them keep it all.
Yeah, just take it. I didn't do anything.
So,
I mean,
so let's take Chuck down. And let's put up the current playoffs brackets from last week. And the only thing I'll start off the discussion on this college talk like this. We've got 4 teams that earned, well, I use the term loosely when I say earned bye week. We got 4 teams that are considered the home bye week winners, the top 4 in the country, that heading into this coming week in the Fiesta Bowl, Penn State goes to Boise State. Penn State's 11-point favorites, just like we said a couple weeks ago, double-digit favorites. You got number 5, Texas, who was the first-round winner. They're heading into number 4, Arizona State for the Peach Bowl. Texas, 13.5-point favorites. You got Ohio State heading to the Rose Bowl to play a team that was been number 1 for the whole frickin' season. It's 13-0. And Ohio State is actually pitted as 2.5-point favorites as a wild card team.
Well, if they play like they did last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, I can understand why.
And then you got, last but not least, the only team that earned a first-round bye that is favored in the quarterfinal round, it's Georgia, 2-point favorites over Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. You know, these games all kick off starting Tuesday night and going through Wednesday. What do you guys think?
We picking the games right now?
Well, let's start. Should we start with the game that probably has the least amount of interest? and I should just throw that out to Eric and see if he agrees with who he puts up as that team. But I got it right here, so I'll put it up.
Texas, Arizona State.
We got
Penn really? State. You think that's the least interesting?
Here's what I'll tell you about this game. One, I think we all agreed that Boise State did not deserve to be the 3 seed and get a bye. We all agreed on that. The interesting part about this game that I think is going to potentially hurt that spread is how does Genty, how are they able to attack Penn State with Genty? Can he, when it came to the Heisman, all we heard was, Genty got screwed. And maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But he did. But if Genty puts up the type of numbers against a Penn State and Boise State keeps it close, maybe wins it. Because I think we can agree. I think the trap games are those games, the Arizona State versus Texas. Arizona State gets no credit. Okay, I think we will probably all pick Texas, but Arizona State gets no credit. Boise State, I mean, we're probably all going to pick Penn State.
Well, what's Penn State known for?
Well, defense.
Defense.
Yeah.
So you're telling me, right? He was a Heisman candidate, no doubt. I'm not taking anything away from him. He definitely was a rock star this year. But you're telling me that if the defense is all that, they can't structure their defense to stop him. You stop him, you stop.
That's going to be their. That's going to be their sole mission.
That's going to be their sole mission.
They're going to stack the box.
Yeah, if they can't do that, and Boise State is able to put something together that can take advantage of that, and Penn State has to make an adjustment because Boise State is moving the ball through the air. Where does that open up?
Yeah.
I mean, Genty is dangerous from anywhere. But if go ahead, Chad. Go ahead, Chad.
Well, no, it's fine. I would just make this comparison. So in Super Bowl 20, the Patriots' sole goal was to make sure that Walter Payton didn't do anything to hurt them. And they did that. He didn't really do anything to hurt them, but it cost them the game. They got pounded 46-10 because they were focused on him, and then they went out and threw it and ran it to everybody else, and they got crushed. So if your sole goal, I mean, that Boise State quarterback, he can throw the ball some
100%,
and they have some okay talent on the outside. So you give any wide receiver a chance one-on-one, and they're going to win it, but they're going to stack it. They're going to stack the box.
100%.
100%. Do I think Penn State's going to win? Yeah, Penn State's going to win. I believe that. But it could be closer than you think if they're solely focused on Genty, and that could screw them for everything else.
Albert's not afraid to go out on a limb. He's got Boise State knocking off Penn State.
All right, Albert.
Here's the deal, Albert. I'm actually hoping for that, and I'll tell you why.
We know why.
No. I'm hoping for that. I want, unlike you guys,
your Big Ten hatred. Go ahead.
No. I'm not hating on the Big Ten. I would favor the Big Ten, and I don't hate the SEC either. But we watched the number 3 team in the SEC, the most powerful conference, get absolutely boat raced by the number 3 team in the Big Ten. So you're telling me, and you guys have talked about it in the past, you're telling me that the number 4 team in the SEC deserved to be there, and possibly the number 5 team in the SEC deserved to be there.
Well, we can say the same thing, Eric, about last night. Arkansas 6-6, boat race Texas Tech last night. Texas, and say what you want about NIL and these players didn't play and all that kind of stuff. 6-6 Arkansas, as far as I'm concerned, shouldn't even been in a bowl game. they go in and take out the Texas Tech team, which was one of those teams that was making noise in the Big 12 at the end of the season.
But in that same respect, you cherry pick that game. I guess I could cherry pick this game. A 6-6 USC team that I think by all standards had a really bad year in the Big Ten comes back and beats Texas A&M, who for a lot of the season we thought, man, Texas A&M could be a playoff team. They beat them. So I consider
Did you guys watch that game, by the way, last night?
I watched a lot of it.
Did you see
I didn't realize Emmitt Smith's son was a running back for Texas A&M. I was like, oh.
They interviewed the player for USC after the game. I swear to God, that kid's 12 years old. He had to be 12 years old.
He had to be 12 years old.
God, they interviewed him, and I'm looking at him like, wait a minute. They got him out of school early he looked like, I don't know if that was the quarterback. I can't remember now, but.
And I look at this, Brian, the NCAA is not going to change it. They're not. They're not going to change to re-ranking them like we've suggested on the bottom line. We've suggested, listen, you get the 12 teams in there and now re-rank them 1 through 12. Boise State does not end up at 3. I re-ranked them, and then I showed the matchups that we would have, and I think we all agreed those would have been better first-round matchups than the NCAA gave us. They're not going to do that. They just won't. So instead of, and we agree they should, I feel like they have to, but they're not going to. So now I look at the way they have it, and I'm like, screw it. Let's have chaos. Let's have a Notre Dame beat a Georgia. Let's have a Boise State beat a Penn State. Let's have an Arizona State beat a Texas, whatever. I don't care, because the NCAA is not going to change it. They're not. If they go to 16 teams, I guess that's a change, and they can tweak it from there. But they're not going to change it. So, I mean, who put up probably the best fight in the first round? The weak Clemson. A weak Clemson team that we all agreed, do they even deserve to be there even though they won the ACC? They probably put up the best fight of the first round against Texas, who, we view as a potential national champion. So, I mean, the NCAA is not going to change it, so I'm up for chaos.
I disagree. I think the NCAA is going to change this format in some way, shape, form, or fashion next year. I think they're getting so much hate for these playoffs and not hate in a good way. So, everybody talk, any kind of attention is good attention. This is really, really bad. And everybody recognizes how bad this is. I think they will change it somehow. Maybe it'll just be a small tweak or maybe a medium tweak. I don't think they're going to go full on what we think they should do. They're not going to do. But I think they're going to do something. They have to, because I don't know if they're going to get the views that they want. You should be liking this. You wanted this March Madness. You wanted all these teams that didn't deserve to be in, so they could try and pull off miracles and be the darlings. And we'll see how it works out for you.
So,
I'm just saying.
So Eric,
yeah,
did you really think that you were going to be able to talk this kind of nonsense without Brett suddenly feeling better and just saying, I got to come on?
All of a sudden, Brett is healed. All of a sudden, Brett is like, I'm better. Here he comes.
On top of the world because
he's going to come in going,
yeah. I feel great enough.
It was that Stallions talk that got him going.
Turn that camera sideways, bro.
Man, I can't even turn my phone sideways, man. I didn't even have time to set it up. I'm like, I'm not going to let Eric get a freebie. But no, I mean, honestly, like I said, this playoffs, I was going to lose either way because the SEC teams win. I got to hear it from them. And if they don't win, I got to hear it from everybody else. The same, each year it's always, see, the SEC's overrated and all that. I'm going to tell you what, if that Ohio State team, if he can somehow continue to motivate them like they were motivated last week, I don't think anybody beats Ohio State. And that's my hot take. They're my favorites right now. It was Texas before the playoffs started, but if that Ohio State team can play like they played the other night, will they? Look at the egg they laid 2 weeks before against Michigan. So,
my worry,
Eric, I brought him on specifically because I thought he was gonna go right after you, and instead he took my hot take.
Well, I can't even hardly breathe. So
I'm telling you this, and Brett just kind of reiterated a little bit. He's worried about Texas. I'm worried about Texas. They're not my favorite anymore. They should have, according to the experts, they should have dog walked Clemson.
Yeah,
dog walked them. And that was probably the best game of the opening round. They should have dog walked them, and they didn't.
Yeah.
And the other SEC team got the third place team in the SEC got absolutely obliterated by Ohio State. So, I'm just saying.
We forget that so much of this is want to. And that's why you've got to be, and I talk about Kirby Smart, Nick Saban. You've got to have the talent. We all can admit that. You've got to have the talent on your team. But as a coach, you're as much a motivator as you are a coach to keep these guys motivated. Look at Alabama this year. They didn't look like a top 50 team 3 games. And in 3 games this year, they look like a top 5 team. It's keeping these guys motivated week in and week out is to me, who can keep motivated? Most of us would expect Texas to just beat the ever living, out of Arizona State. Or they get up 14 or 17 like they did on Clemson, and then they start, easing off just like the USC game last night. Hell, they were down 24-7, and they're, on the sideline celebrating. Next thing they know, they lose the game. Ohio State's my favorite to win it right now, and
I would agree. I'm taking Ohio State over Oregon, no question.
Yeah, especially a neutral site.
It's a neutral site. Oregon got them at home this year, early on in the season, and I know Ohio State laid an egg against Michigan. I get that, but right now, what they did to Tennessee was wow.
Yeah.
If he keeps that going,
does Texas pull Quinn and put Arch in?
Surely they won't have to do that against Arizona State, but against Ohio State, very possible. And then you got to figure out, can Notre Dame beat a backup quarterback in Georgia?
I'm telling you right now, that Scatterbo is a dog.
Oh, yeah.
If they get any traction in the running game, Texas, they showed some weakness against Clemson. Arizona State's better than you think they are. I get it. They're not an SEC team, and they're not. But Arizona State is better. They can throw the ball as well. You got a running game with Scatterbo who refuses to go down, and you can throw the ball a little bit. They're going to put some pressure on Texas if they play like they did against Clemson. And Arch Manning, there may be a switch coming. Because Ewers, something has happened to Ewers. We lost Brett. But something has happened to Ewers that I don't know. I've lost a lot of trust in Texas. Yeah. Now, Texas could come out and boat race them by 40. But prior to the game, these are the thoughts that I've had. Texas was my favorite coming in until after week 1. Ohio State has taken that in my mind anyway. But I'm telling you, Penn State and Texas, they're going to get more of a game than I think those spreads. If I was betting spreads instead of just betting games, I would be tempted to take Boise State and Arizona State with those spreads.
Yeah, the rumor is that Quinn has played himself out of the first round quarterbacks, and that he's going to transfer and play someplace else next year. So
North Carolina.
That's not part of the conversation we're talking about here. But.
North Carolina.
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
Right.
But that's the thing. I don't
think that he's probably going to transfer, but he probably is.
The thing that I think more so than not is that it's fine if a Texas wants to overlook an Arizona State. Go ahead at your peril. Yeah. That's fine if Penn State wants to overlook a Boise State, and like Ed said, all they have to do is load the box up and stop Genty. And I'm like, go ahead. Like you brought up the Super Bowl with the Bears and Patriots. That's what they did to Walter Payton, and they got boat raced. Go ahead. If it's easy for us to sit back and say, well, because this team. Now I agree, Boise State should not have been ranked third. But if we just want to overlook Boise State and say, they're not a good team, they didn't deserve it. What happens if next week we're talking about Arizona State playing Ohio State or Boise State playing Georgia or Notre Dame? Then what?
Just, don't call me paranoid, but give me a second here because being sick the last couple days, I'm a little gun shy to be around sick people. So
yeah, just with Brett on the bottom line, I feel like
I got to make sure
get some wipes or something.
Told you, man, I can't breathe. Other than that, I'm good.
But as far as this game goes, give me Penn State.
Yeah, I'm taking Penn State, but if we're talking next week and we're talking a Boise State win, I'm not going to be shocked. I won't be.
What about you, Brett? We just want to knock this out. I'm going to take Penn State as well.
Penn State.
And Eric took Boise State.
So do we have any of our listeners that
was a gutsy pick, Eric?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Albert's taking Boise.
He took Boise
straight up.
Ooh.
Oh, let's answer this question.
Yeah,
quick.
Mike brings up a good point here. Why are we letting players into the transfer portal before the season is over?
Because that's when the portal opens. That's the unfortunate part.
I think that's one of those
NCAA, Mike.
They have to make, right, Brett?
Yeah, it's because of getting them in class in time for the second semester. I don't know what they can change or do on that. Something's going to have to be done. And I do anticipate they're going to go to 14 teams next year. There's just too much smoke for there not to be fire. If not next year, the following year.
March Madness, here we come. It's good.
By the way,
keeping this more and more.
Don't spray Lysol over a soda that you're drinking. that is probably the cleanest drink of soda I've ever had.
Yeah.
There's a price to pay for comedy, Ed, and you just paid it.
Right. Way to go, bud. Way to go.
That I did.
But yeah, Mike, that is the answer to your question. It's because of when the portal opens, for semester class and things like that. That's why there are some kids that have transferred off of these playoff teams because they have to. But Mike is also taking Boise State.
So we got Penn State and Boise State kicking things off the second round and on New Year's Eve. First game on Wednesday, noon game, is the Peach Bowl. We got number 5 Texas playing number 4 Arizona State. You guys have touched a little bit on Arizona State. Do you really think in your heart of hearts that Arizona State is going to give Texas a run?
No.
I hope for you three that Texas and Penn State boat race these two teams, because if they don't, I am going to be like a kid on Christmas morning come next Saturday.
Well, I like how Eric
Fact is, the
continues
candy
week
store?
after week after week to make the argument for these other conferences. But yet, if I look through my pick list, it always seems like he takes these teams that for the last month he has just loathed.
Let's do what I suggested at the beginning of the year, and let's pick against the spreads.
Hey, when you're talking national championship, you don't cross
Spread
the
don't
national
matter.
championship against the spread.
What in the hell does the spread have to do with a national championship or a playoff?
Winning has to mean something.
Okay.
Spread never comes into play when you're doing playoffs of any kind.
Okay. So make an argument as to why any other team deserves to be in there. Brett, make your argument after Tennessee got boat raced by Ohio State. Make your argument that anybody below Tennessee deserved to be in there. Just because they're a blue blood, just because they're a name?
No, absolutely not. Look, Tennessee got what they had coming. Personally, they're one of my rivals, so I thought it was fantastic. When your fans and your players sit there for 2 weeks running their mouth, talking about we're going to plant the flag on your field and yada, yada, and then they've been taking a beating over the head. Ryan Day needs to be fired. You got everybody talking about he can't beat Michigan. It was a perfect storm, and I absolutely loved it. But now, again, every time an SEC team loses, someone like yourself just puts that hey, we know the whole SEC is crap.
No, Brett, that's false. I'm not against the SEC. What I'm against is if we're going to have a college playoff based on who we want, there's got to be criteria. There has to be.
I agree. And strength of schedule has got to play a part.
Because here's the deal. Going back to Chad's March Madness theme, okay? Then let's just put Duke and North Carolina and Kansas and those teams in the basketball tournament and screw Iowa State, even though they're ranked third this year right now. Let screw them because they're not who we want to see. Well, okay.
It's not what I
then
said.
let's just have the 12 team playoff be who we want, the blue bloods and those types of things. Let's just make it who we want. Let's not have any criteria and just say, let's just do this. Well,
Chad, before you stick that bear above your head on Eric again, because he's looking pretty pissed off, reiterate again for our viewing audience what you're saying. Because you keep saying that's not what I said. So what did you say?
What I said was you can't let all these irrelevant teams in just because they won their conference, just because they're 11-1 and they have played no one. When you do that, it becomes March Madness. The regular season means nothing. And then you're just letting in irrelevant teams to fill the need of some sect of the population that feels like they need equity.
What criteria do you use then? What's your criteria for the 12 teams in the playoff? What's your criteria?
Well, Indiana should not have made it in because
they were top 10.
Absolutely no one. They should.
Yeah, but you keep
they beat nobody. They beat nobody.
Boise State should not have been in.
You keep saying that. That is the committee who's got politics involved.
But what I'm saying is we do away with the rankings then.
Schedule, period.
We do away with the rankings and do nothing but strength of schedule. So by your criteria alone, strength of schedule, because you can't use rankings.
Schedule followed by record.
Because of strength of schedule, they should have been ranked so high. You're not listening to what I'm saying.
I understand that, but how do you determine a 9-4 team? Well, their strength of schedule is better as opposed to an 11-1 Indiana.
Well, Indiana had what, the 125th ranked strength of
68.
schedule or something?
Strength of schedule is 68.
Okay. And then
I'm just saying,
was what?
16.
What happened to SMU, who had a 60th strength of schedule?
So you're misinterpreting what I'm saying. Just like when I said the Cardinals are going to win 9, maybe 10 games. You went, oh, Chad said they were.
No. Actually, you said 8 or 9. I'll defend you on that. You said 8 or 9.
I think it was 10. I'm pretty much.
I think it was 10.
No, it was 8 or 9. We can't open it each week messing with him.
Hey, you two can.
I had the power to beat you, Brett. It was 9 or 10.
No, it was 8 or 9. I'm telling you,
Brett. I know you're just not thinking clear.
You're not thinking clearly. Your nasal cavity's all putting pressure on your brain, and you're just not thinking.
Fuck, now I know we said.
Brett, you're my boo. So when I say you're going to turn it, this is turning into March Madness. Now Brett's saying that they're talking about going to 14 teams next year. So they're going to get in 2 more teams, and this is what's going to happen. When they announce the brackets and they announce the matchups, we're going to have a show, and you guys are going to be sitting there saying, these are stupid. These teams don't stand a chance. They're going to get boat raced. This is the stupidest shit they've ever fucking done. All this, just the exact same conversation you had. When you include that many teams, once you get past a certain point, those teams really can't compete, and they're going to get clubbed.
But what was Tennessee's strength of schedule, Brett?
I cannot remember.
But it was top 30. It was top 30, right?
Yeah, it was top 30.
It was top 30 for sure. Then, based on what you're saying,
you got to admit right now, our favorites to win the whole thing is Ohio State. And it was at Ohio State. I'm not defending Tennessee. I loved what happened.
Right. But what I'm saying is, based on what Chad said, Tennessee should not have gotten absolutely boat raced in the first round. That should have been the game. Ohio State and Tennessee, based on what you're saying, Chad, should have been the only game to watch in the first round. Yet it wasn't. It was a snooze fest. It was a blowout.
Yep.
The game to watch was the team that you said had no business being in there. It was Clemson. They had no business being there. And they gave us
true freshman quarterback, played like a true freshman. I agree. Albert, evidently you're a Boise State fan. My argument to you, you said
he hates Alabama.
Well,
I think he's an Auburn fan.
I think he likes Boise State. So my problem with Boise State is after their big game against Oklahoma years ago, they've had 20 years to sack up and get in a big conference and play the big boys. So they get recognition, notoriety, legitimacy. And they have cowardly refused to do that every single year. So, in my opinion, they don't deserve to be there because they don't have the sack to go and play the big boys. They just run off and keep playing in their Mountain West. I'm sorry if that sounds elitist, but they don't deserve it.
Well, I mean, I think we all as football fans want all these games to be very good and go down to the wire. And I think we all, if we don't have a dog in the fight, we do like the upsets. But all this is so slim. It's the chances of that happening. I mean, let's just be real, guys. What's the odds that Penn State's going to just walk over Boise State? What's the odds that Texas is going to walk over Arizona State? Of course, it might not happen. But we've watched enough football to know 9 out of 10 times what's going to happen here. Yeah. I mean,
but you would have said that about Texas and Clemson, and that was the best game of the week.
It was. Texas jumped on them, and then, I'll give Clemson credit. They kept fighting. They really did. They kept fighting. I'm going to be honest with you, I was more disappointed in Texas than I was proud of Clemson.
Yeah.
But that being said,
yeah, you want some moonshine, Brett?
Man, I'm fixing to go get me some hot soup or something and try to get all this out. The Mucinex and everything else ain't working.
But again, using the criteria that you set forth, the best game of the week should have been Ohio State and Tennessee. And we got probably the worst game of the week.
And what did Brett say? 9 out of 10 times.
Well, you remember when we picked the games, what did I say? I was real worried about that cold weather and that freshman quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not making excuses. Like I said, I'm not rooting for Tennessee. I'm not rooting for Georgia. I'm not rooting for Texas. But it was a perfect storm the other night in Columbus, and Tennessee got what they deserved. You don't run your mouth like that going to somebody's house. It's talented. Ohio State's got the highest payroll in college football this year. They do. I think it's $24 million, the highest this year. And talk all that crap. They're already a wounded mad animal for what happened the week before or 2 weeks before with Michigan. It was an absolute perfect storm, and Ohio State took care of business. No excuses.
So even with the two strongest teams in the first round, we still can get blowouts. So if we would have had, some of the teams that Chad or Ed or whatever believes it should have been in over these other teams, you still couldn't have guaranteed not blowouts. If Texas was playing, I don't know, Ole Miss, you'd say, well, that's a better game. If Texas blows them out, what?
Eric, do you know the answer to this? Albert's asking.
What's that?
Has Boise State been invited to the Big 12? He doesn't recall.
I don't believe Boise State was ever invited to the Big 12, but I do believe there was time 5-6 years ago where Boise State was invited to join the Pac-12. Whenever the Pac-12 went to 16 or whatever it was, I do believe Boise State was invited to go to the Pac-12, and they did not go.
You remember they was this close to getting Texas and Oklahoma to the Pac-12.
Right.
And the other thing, Albert, is did Boise State pursue?
No,
Did they go to the Big 12 and say, hey, when you're expanding, we want in?
I think Boise State's been intelligent. Yeah. I think, Chad, you're right. But I think Boise State, you got to give them credit. They're intelligent because now they're the small boys Notre Dame. They're a niche. And they don't, and in their mind, they're always going to be the 1A underdog. So why would they join the conference? Because, what would happen if they did join the conference? They wouldn't be 11-1 right now. That's for sure.
So
I'm with you.
They've been a member of the Mountain West since 2011. In 2016, the Big 12 narrowed its list to potential schools to 12 and did not pursue Boise State. Boise State is instead joining the Pac-12 conference in 2026 along Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State. So Boise State is leaving the Mountain West. I know, but the Pac-12 becoming irrelevant
will be absolutely 1,000% irrelevant.
Just as irrelevant as the Mountain West is.
Yes.
No question.
So
because of all the teams that they lost.
It's a shame because the Pac-12 had their best year of football in 50 years last year.
I don't think that Boise State has pursued trying to get into a big conference to legitimize themselves. I think they've been satisfied with sitting in the Mountain West and dominating the Mountain West, and they get to go 11-1 and say, hey, look at us. We're super pretty. You need to pay attention to us. Instead of joining one of the big boy conferences and fighting it out and saying, hey, look, see, we told you we weren't just all show and we could play. They didn't do that.
Guys, could y'all imagine how the brackets are set up? And the odds would just be, it'd be like hitting the Powerball right now. If Boise State and Arizona State played each other in the national championship this year. But then you have to take a break and realize, I don't want to be that clown like Colin Cowherd because it's just not going to happen. It's just, it can, but, realistically, it can it really,
Albert, I can answer your question. Absolutely. To me, that is the SEC, along with the Big Ten's ultimate goal in NCAA football, is to eliminate the group of 5 conferences entirely and start their own deal. Will you have teams like, say, Clemson, Miami, Florida State invited into that? Potentially. Will you have teams like Utah, Iowa State, Colorado, whoever it is on the Big 12 potentially invited to that? Yeah, but not necessarily. My thought process, and I've said this ad nauseum in the past, is that is the SEC and the Big Ten's ultimate goal, is to wrangle, control of college football away from the NCAA. And I just read an article 2 days ago. This is how bad I feel college football is getting. It was a billionaire talking about he is in line right now to buy 2 college football programs.
Yeah, did you see that? I sent that to you.
Yeah, it must have been what you sent me that I read or listened
yeah.
to.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was kind of scary.
Yes. So when this stuff starts to happen, this is going the NCAA is going to lose control of NCAA football, and you're going to have a serious influx of money come from billionaires because they see the money there is in college football. You're going to have a serious influx of money into college football, and you're going to see the landscape of college. We think the landscape of college football has changed to this point. We haven't seen anything yet. We have not seen anything yet.
With that said, we're over our 2 hours, and we only got through one college pick'em. So we're gonna take a break to hear from our sponsor. But when we come back, we're gonna get down and dirty and get these last 3 picks made from college. We'll be right back. All right, so we kind of touched a little bit already on the Texas and Arizona State game, so let's get into at least getting that game picked. I got Texas. I don't see this as being a potential.
I got Texas by 4 touchdowns, and now they'll get up 3 or 4 touchdowns more than likely, and who knows if they'll ease off or what we've seen in some of these bowl games, you get these big leads and these teams forget, there's 4 quarters, not 2. Give me Texas by 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, give me Texas.
Texas.
And John, by the way, we kind of reversed roles this week and we started with the NFL first. So you are not.
I'm 2 hours late.
Damn, they're running behind.
Sorry, John. We're about to get to Notre Dame, though. We're about to get to Notre Dame.
He picked Texas also.
So we got Texas across the board. I reached out to my compadre here so he could give me some insight on little help on the Notre Dame Georgia game, which we'll get to last, but I just wanted his thoughts and he completely ghosted me. So, he must not want to help a brother out. So anyway, let's go to the next game. Is the Rose Bowl. So it's Wednesday, New Year's Day at 4 p.m. 8th-seeded Ohio State, 2.5-point favorites over the number 1 team in the country on a neutral site. That makes sense. Okay. So Oregon 13-0, been number 1 for pretty much the whole season.
And they're the underdogs.
They're upset. They're underdogs on a neutral site as the number 1 team.
Was Ohio State going to let us down again this week? Again, it takes, Eric, you're a coach, it takes motivation, it takes want to. I think Ohio State, they've still got something to prove because they did lose to Oregon earlier in the year. Give me Ohio State, and I think it's going to be Fantastic game.
I got Ohio State as well.
As do I.
Give me.
I'm pulling for Oregon. But I think Ohio State's gonna win.
Give me the quack attack.
All right. Sounds like me talking.
Yeah, you inspired me.
We got Mike taking Oregon. That's all we got on the comment line so far. That's Albert's rooting for the Ducks, but they didn't say who he actually thought was going to win it.
Marty,
Oregon.
John's Oregon.
I'm pulling for Oregon.
So, a very interesting game to round things out is the Sugar Bowl. Number 7 Notre Dame, 12-1, playing number 2 Georgia, who's minus their starting quarterback. Georgia's 11-2. They're still 2-point favorites as of yesterday against Notre Dame. The late game on New Year's Day. What are we looking for in this game?
Well, I think this alludes to what Brett has talked about all year with Coach Saban and how he feels about things. This is where the SEC teams of old, this is where it hurts them. Back in the day, like he said numerous times with Coach Saban, if your starting defensive tackle, 5-star defensive tackle gets hurt, Nick Saban plugs in his 4-star defensive tackle or his other 5-star defensive tackle that isn't playing. With the nil, transfer portal, things like that, it's changed landscape. Becht goes down. Now who did they plug in? Is it, we're not stacked with 4 and 5 stars behind our starters like it used to be. And I mean, when I look at this game, I think that's going to be the deciding factor. So John, you'll be happy to know I'm taking Notre Dame.
I agree. Give me the Irish.
Gunnar Stockton is supposed to be their next big quarterback. He doesn't have the experience. I'm pulling for Notre Dame. I am, but it's very tough to pick against Georgia. But it don't matter because I'm not competing for the Pick'em championship anyways. I'm ready for the UFL to start, so we can start over maybe. I really want Notre Dame to win. This is going to depend a lot on how their offensive line can hold up against the Georgia pass rush. If they can give Riley some time, Notre Dame's got a shot. I'm going to go with Georgia by 3. And I hope I'm wrong. I would like to see the Irish win that game.
Oh, God.
Who'd you take, Ed?
Yeah, we're waiting.
This is a tough game. John
David didn't give him any insider information like everybody from Notre Dame hurt.
I have to, I'm finding out as I get older that I got to start following my gut more. And
says the guy who's in the lead.
Maybe that's why I'm in the lead. In fact, I think he might be trying to talk to me. What are you saying? What? Oh, okay. I think that there's something to be said. I think Notre Dame's had an outstanding season. I think that on the surface, this looks like a game that Notre Dame could win. But when you look at big games over the course of the years, nobody's had, you talk about the Alabamas, the Georgias, all those teams. They play big games like nothing. It just becomes old hat for them. It's nothing but a regular season game for them because there's so many big games they play year in and year out. Notre Dame is banking their whole frickin' season on this, getting this game. And when the push comes to shove, I'm not going to say that they pull a choke job. I just think that they're not going to be up for the magnitude of what this game holds. I'm not going to say it ain't going to be a close game. Not going to say it ain't going to be a game we're all going to want to watch. But I think when push comes to shove, I think Georgia, even with missing their starting quarterback, is going to find a way to advance. So I am taking Georgia.
All right.
And after making that,
Lone Wolf.
And after making that, you know, that.
No, I took Georgia by 3.
Yeah. So even after that, pouring my heart out, giving you guys everything it took for me to make that pick. All I got after I made the pick was.
Yeah. What'd you want us to do? Good pick.
All I got.
Good pick.
Did you top me up anytime I made a pick when I was in the lead? No.
Not once during this whole segment did I ever double down on Eric and do this. Not once. Because I don't want to pile on Derek. I don't want him to, should I shut them down before they really get pissed?
Are those all the ducks you missed during hunting season?
No, see, they're getting pissed off now. You don't call them ducks.
I thought you shot all the ducks down, Eric. No?
I don't duck hunt.
And then there's the
Work
one
with
I
me,
forgot.
Eric.
Then there's the one I forgot that I was going to razz you guys after that ultimate Monday night football game that you guys just got done playing, or Thursday night game that you just got done playing in.
Stop Bears. Stop Bears.
They scored.
Sell the team. Sell the team.
I was cheering with them in the living room. Sell the team, please. Oh my God.
They called that holding call on the touchdown pass, and sure, technically it was holding, but that holding is done 4 times on every play of every game.
Yeah.
So if you're going to call that, it's ridiculous.
I've seen 6 more egregious holds in a Super Bowl not get called, and that one gets called in the regular season game.
I was like, okay. They showed the replay, and I was like, okay, that's holding, but come on, man.
He was already rolling away from that anyway.
Yeah.
It had 0 impact on the play. 0.
He didn't turn the guy's shoulders.
No.
Nothing.
That had 0 impact on the play, and they call. But that's what I'm talking about. If you're not an NFL darling team, those get calling you almost 100% of the time.
Yeah.
0 impact on the play, you're getting it. If that's a Kansas City game and it has 0 impact on Mahomes making that touchdown pass, guess what? No flag, touchdown.
That's why I tell you guys, it's getting so tough. It's getting tougher and tougher for me to watch the NFL. I love football.
It's so stupid on the NFL's part. It's the second largest market in the NFL. Don't give me LA because they don't care and they don't watch.
So, Chad, do you want an update?
What?
Do you want an update?
An update?
Yeah.
Well, sure. I don't know what this is about, but go ahead.
Nebraska just won up on.
I've got it on my phone.
They just won up on Boston College, 13-0.
They had extra point.
Got their extra point blocked and returned for 2 points.
Yeah.
So
I've got it on my phone right here.
Nebraska is winning this bowl game with what, 30+ transfer portal or 40+ transfer portal players gone.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they could play. One team could not even play in their bowl game.
Like, they got to be playing guys that didn't even suit up during the year.
Well, the starting running back at the beginning of the year, who ended up getting benched for Dowdle or whatever his name is, and then that kid transferred, so now the starting running back in the beginning of the season is in, and he's playing. So it's.
I mean, let's face it, with the transfer portal and the location, I mean, these bowl games, I think we've said it before, they're glorified scrimmages.
Yeah, when I saw that I was like, okay, these kids are going to go to a bowl game. They're going to go down south, hopefully in Florida. They get to enjoy the weather. And then I saw they went to the Pinstripe Bowl, and I was like, oh, man.
New York. It's New York, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
it's just piss and rain, big time.
Yeah.
Albert, the Bears actually got to play Thursday night football this week.
If you call it that.
Yeah,
so they were involved in a barnbuster 6-3 ball game.
It was the turd game of the week. The bottom line turd game of the week.
I was still probably at 50% at that point. I saw like the first 5 minutes of the game, and I woke up when they were doing the post game show, and the chant of "Sell the team" was going on. So anyway,
it was at the beginning when the Bears were running on the field. They were chanting "Sell the team."
Yeah, they actually did that before the game as the team was fixing to run out onto the field.
Yeah. So good stuff.
So
fine time to be a Bears fan.
We have a lot of outstanding football that's going to go down here in the next, starting anytime now, right? The early game.
Yeah, going on right now.
The early games right now. You've got 3 NFL games. You got a full slate tomorrow with the big game between some Minnesota team that's 13-2 versus the NFL media darling Packers. Going on later tomorrow, but then full slate of games coming up starting on Tuesday and Wednesday for the second round of the college football playoffs. So there is not going to be a lack of good football on TV coming up in the next 4 or 5 days. Does anybody have any parting shots before we call this a wrap?
Bring on the football.
Eric, your mom wears combat boots. That's it.
That was so weak.
Yeah, screw the portal, screw NIL, and Auburn sucks. That's all I've got.
With that said, we will be back next Saturday, same time, same bad channel. Until then, enjoy football. Happy New Year to everybody. We will see you again next Saturday.
Peace out, y'all.
And that's the bottom line.